Hello. Welcome back to another day of another reading of the Moonstone Cup. Today I will be reading 2 chapters today. So go ahead and sit back, relax, and let's get started with Trixies' Sidestory, Stand My Ground. Trixie, are you alright? I opened my eyes, and there she was again. Twilight Sparkle had been the bane of my existence for nearly a year, ever since I made my stupid mistake of taking my show to a backwards nowhere town like Ponyville. I tried to get my show back together, but everywhere I went, that story about my humiliation got there first. I only went to Ponyville because it was near Canterlot in the first place. It was only supposed to be a short stop to make a few bits and get a good night's sleep before I presented myself for the princesses. 4 months. It took me 4 months before I managed to get another decent show together. It's not as though a traveling magic show pays extremely well anyway, so I couldn't really afford to be out of work that long. Let's just say that I can no longer say that the odd jobs are beneath me. What can I say? A girl needs to eat. Well, this is true, yes. People do need to eat. In any event, I finally managed to get my career off the ground again. And that's when the insomnia started. Every single night, I'd lie awake. I'd just see Twilight Sparkle smug-faced in front of me, laughing. That's when I found time to study and really start improving my raw magical power. Sleep was getting better by the time I got my invitation to the Moonstone Cup tournament. I was feeling much better and was sleeping 3 or 4 hours a night instead of being up for days on end and then crashing. Opening my eyes to see Twilight Sparkle's face was a new experience, but not a very welcome one. I didn't need her fake concern. She had what she wanted. After all, she had the mimic medallion, not me. She was moving on to the semifinals, not me. It wouldn't have stung so badly if she hadn't felt the need to embarrass me during the qualifying rounds. As it was obvious that she'd make a fool out of me, and even the adjudicators were judging me harshly for it. Trixie, she asked again. She reached out a hoof and patted my cheek, and that's when I kicked her. It hurt a lot. I must have pulled something jumping between her stupid golems because my leg felt torn up inside. I got a certain satisfaction from seeing Twilight Sparkle with a hoof print on her shoulder, though she shrieked and jumped back. Oh, how y'all do? Yay. Hello and welcome. Anyway, let's continue. I dragged myself to my feet and tried to stay off of my injured foreleg. Trixie's just fine, I said. At least that's what I tried to say. It came out more like a mumble. I was just so tired. Trixie, she said, still wearing that infuriating look of mock concern. You don't look fine. Fine, she wanted me to play this game. I could play, so I let her have it. Just buck off, I yelled. Oh, snap. She's mad. It hurt my throat, but I didn't care. Twilight Sparkle looked shocked, playing her little mess goody four-shoes act to the hilt. Trixie doesn't need your help. You ruined Trixie's life. Trixie lost all of her possessions in your little manure hole town because of you and your friends. I finally got back on my hooves, and here you are to take it all away again? I didn't mean to start crying. It just sort of happened. She was taken aback, and then she put on her concerned face again. Trixie knows all about you. Crying or not, she was going to get a well-deserved piece of my mind. Sucking up to the princesses, scamming invitations to the Grand Galloping Gala. You even got given a pet dragon. Wait! She tried to interrupt me, suddenly acting affronted. Spike is not a... Shut up! I cut her off. It is Trixie's turn to... I woke up later. Blackening out wasn't a particularly unfamiliar experience, but waking up in an actual bed was. I sat up blinking, trying to get my sight back. Trixie? It certainly wasn't Twilight Sparkle's voice, so things were already looking up. A yellow and pink blur slowly resolved itself into a slender Pegasus. She was one of Twilight Sparkle's friends, Butterfly or something. No, it's Fluttershy, not Butterfly. Flutter. Well, at least we know she's okay, though. Oh, good, you're awake, she said softly. Even as bleary as I was, it was obvious she was relieved. Twilight Sparkle had probably set her to watch me while I slept. I tried to reach out to push her away, but my leg felt stiff. I looked down at it. My forearm was wrapped in a thick pressure bandage. The Pegasus saw me looking at my leg, and she smiled. Twilight said you were favoring your leg. It looks like you pulled something when you kicked her. I didn't really need all these horse apples. I rolled over to look away, keeping the weight off my leg. Trixie's just fine. Just tell Trixie where the exit is. Are you sure? Butterfly asked in that wispy little voice. Once Twilight is back from her match, we can... I'm sorry, I had to laugh at that, where it had to reply back to Butterfly instead of Fluttershy. Anyway, I threw back the covers. I was not about to wait for Twilight to come back from her match. The room was a long one with a fireplace at the far end, lined with beds on either side. This must have been where Twilight and her friends were staying while in Canterlot. The only thing I really cared about, however, was the door, which was just across the room. I climbed out of the bed and hobbled over to the door, and it was a bit of strain, but I was able to at least use my magic to open the door. I stepped out into the hallway. The halls looked like every other building in Canterlot, white stone, and I wasn't sure which way to go. I can show you the way out if you'd like. Butterfly again. Oh, I'm just gonna say Fluttershy from now on. I can't. I laugh too much when I say that. Okay, Fluttershy. At least she would say Fluttershy again. At least she was actually offering some help. I could use. All right, I said. I sounded bored. She trotted off down the hallway, and I turned to follow. She was blessedly quiet, so there was nothing to do but watch the pony in front of me. She kept her wings tucked in firmly and trotted like an earth pony. Strange for a Pegasus, doubtably strange for one with a flying cutie mark. Her tail was long and dragged on the ground behind her. So, I asked finally, you're one of Twilight Sparkle's friends? We both gasped silently again and walked along behind Fluttershy. Oh wait, what? I missed a whole paragraph, or line. Hold on. The Pegasus continued walking and didn't look, but she ruffled her wings slightly. Oh yes, I'm Fluttershy. It's very nice to meet you. We both lapsed silent again, and I walked along behind Fluttershy until we reached a door at the end of the hallway. Here you go, she said quietly. Where are you headed? Trixie's cart is outside the city. I suppose I'll be heading away from Canterlot again. What about your friend? Oh, right, him. I threw my main bag. Hopscotch is certain to be waiting at Trixie's cart for her to return. Assuming that he wandered off after another mare that had catch his eye. Gosh, that's so hard to read. I opened the door and stepped out. It was night, so it took me a moment to realize where we were. I hadn't really been expecting to step outside the castle. I should have been surprised, though. At least Fluttershy seemed nice. After I got my bearings, I limped my way toward the gate. The streets were still full of ponies, so it wasn't too late, even though the moon was out. I tried to stay inconspicuous. It helped that I was missing my hat and cape again. That is the end of the side story. And now we're going into, I think, chapter 9. Let me pull it up here. Come on now. There we go. Chapters. I'm using my iPad to read, by the way. Yeah, it is chapter 9 that we're going to next. Chapter 9. The steps down into the mountain from the plateau were wide and flat, well suited to accommodate a number of ponies walking abreast. Ahead of Twilight, down in the cave, she could hear chattering voices, referencing to her and Trixie occasionally echoing up the stone hallway. Twilight herself was grateful to be walking with 5 of her friends, instead of having to deal with questions and cheering. "You sure you are right, Twi?" Applejack asked. She was walking closely to Twilight protectively. "That was a real good kick you took." Twilight rolled her shoulder uncomfortably. After the match, Twilight had walked over to check on Trixie and been rewarded by Trixie yelling at her and kicking her in the shoulder before she lapsed back into unconsciousness. The hoof prints still throbbed, and Twilight expected to end up with a bruise. "I'm fine, AJ," she said. "I'm more worried about Trixie." Applejack and Rainbow Dash both made dismissive noises. Pinkie Pie bounced along at the rear of the group, piped up cheerfully. "She'll be all right, Twilight. Fluttershy Princess Luna will get her all fixed up. Besides, it's not your fault." "What do you mean?" Twilight asked. "It's against the rules to hurt someone, right? If it was your fault, you would have broken the rules and gotten in trouble. But you didn't, so it can't be your fault." Twilight didn't answer. She wasn't so sure. Trixie's injury was just another thing gnawing at her. Maybe Trixie had been hurt when she fell, or maybe Nasteria just hadn't noticed. She continued walking and not speaking. "Twilight, dear, are you all right?" Rarity asked in concern. "You're grinding your teeth." Twilight blinked and looked over at Rarity, who was walking a pace with her. I'm fine, thanks," Twilight said unconvincingly. She was more than not fine. Twilight could practically taste the anger she'd been carrying since the match with Trixie had started, and it was only slowly fading. Further down the winding stairs they continued, the chatter ahead vanishing as the other ponies exited the cave. Twilight sighed in relief. "So, Twilight," Rainbow Dash asked slowly, "got any plan for your next match?" Hold on, wait a minute. I'm just reading ahead just to make sure that I haven't read this already, because this does sound familiar to me. I don't think we have read this one. I thought it was because I recognized the scenario, or either I'm doing Deja Vu or something. Anyway. Where were we? We'll back up a little bit, so. Twilight blinked and looked over at Rarity, who was walking a pace with her. "I'm fine, thanks," Twilight said unconvincingly. She was more than not fine. Twilight could practically taste the anger she had been carrying since the match with Trixie had started, and it was only slowly fading. Further down the winding stairs they continued, the chatter ahead, yeah, we read that part. Twilight sighed in relief. "So, Twilight," Rainbow asked slowly, "got any plans for your next match?" Twilight winced inwardly. "No, not really, Rainbow," she said dully. "I'm just making things up as I go along." "Oh, geez," Rainbow said in a pained voice. She walked faster, catching up to Twilight, and walked beside her opposite of Rarity. "Twilight, you're telling me you've been winging... Oh, we have read this! What the heck? Hold on. We have read this one. And the next one. Okay, so we are... Wow! Well, recap of what happened last time, I guess. Okay, anyway, going on forward, we actually, I did not read the Trixie's Foolish Pride, which is the next side story, so, this will be the one that I read. Anywho, woo, put that on the live stream, Phils, why don't you? There you go. Anywho, if you guys have any questions or comments or anything, just go ahead and post them in the chat. I am watching right now at everything, so. I just thought it was funny that I just like was reading on. I was like, wait a minute, this sounds familiar. Oh wait, it is familiar. Anyway, woo. Let's get right back on the track. Trixies side story, Foolish Pride. I can't even read now that I'm laughing so hard at my mistake. I'd grown used to Canterlot in the last few days, but frankly, I was not sorry to be leaving. I was humiliated and beaten, and I was not going to impress anyone in this town for a long time to come. I was glad for once that no pony recognized or challenged me in and out of the city. It was dark, but the tent city around Canterlot was alive as anything. There were parties and music. I walked past a pride of griffins having strength contests. They were probably drunk, given their yelling and general behavior. I never liked alcohol, but I never particularly liked griffins either, so there's that. I didn't know they would actually put drunk into this story, because I mean, it's a kid's story type thing. I don't know. Anyway. I really could have done without the noise. I just wanted to get back to my car and get moving. There were even odds that I'd been leaving without Hopscotch, but he was, in the end, just eye candy. I was sure I could find a better assistant with even the slightest effort. Oh. Sorry, there's somebody's trouble. I didn't do it, I swear! I'm sorry, I'm acting real spontaneous today, because I don't know why. It's Friday, okay? Oh, where were we? Turning off the road, I walked down into the colorful havoc. I had left my cart on the other side of a large canvas tent that belonged to some zebra dignitary. I had backed up on the tent in hopes that I could use it as a simple backdrop in case I needed to put on a performance. But I had been far too busy to even think about it. I found the zebra's encampment and rounded the large tent. My cart was missing. Shallow furrows in the ground showed where it had been dragged off toward the road. That rat Hopscotch had stolen my cart. I was almost as surprised as I was angry. He hadn't often displayed the sort of initiative or ability to string two thoughts together it would require to backstab some pony like that. I admit it, I lay down on the grass and started to cry. That was twice in one day, so good job there, but really, wouldn't you? This is the final insult. After everything I had gone through, I had lost my possessions again. I should really have learned not to trust ponies, and I was paying for my stupidity. Pardon me, miss. Are you all right? You seem to be in quite a plight. I looked up. There was a zebra standing there. One of them must have heard me crying and come around to investigate. I sniffed and stood up, wiping my tears with my uninjured leg. No, I said, trying to regain my composure. I'm fine. Well, the zebra said, in this case, you could go further afield. You're interrupting our master's meal. No sympathy for Trixie as usual. I looked at him haughtily and flicked at him with my tail as I turned to walk away. Served him right. But now, where was I going to go? I had no place to sleep, no bits, and no real way to earn any without my cart. I did, however, know some ponies who might be convinced to give me a place to stay for the night. I looked down at my baggage leg and sighed before I started heading back toward the castle. I had my invitation letter out before I reached the drawbridge, and the guards let me pass without question. I trudged down the street, favoring my injured leg, which was starting to hurt again. I heard a lot of inane chatter as I passed groups of ponies. Usual sorts of nonsense average ponies talking about. On my way past the bakery, however, I overheard a conversation about the most recent matches. Evidently, the biggest story was that Twilight Sparkle had bested Zlatan. So this had taken place, I guess, right after she had beaten Zlatan. Or that Twilight had beaten Zlatan. Oh, man. Ugh. After she'd beaten me, I was really looking forward to Zlatan beating her. I didn't think she had it in her to bring him down, given that given what I read about his standard strategies, I thought for sure that he'd deprive her of her magic, and that would be that. I, of course, had a strategy worked out after the first day, not that I mattered anymore. I approached the castle, and the guards came out to meet me. I suppose I wasn't at my best, what with an injured leg and fur on my face matted with tears. I hoped they'd take some pity on me. Trixie is here to see... What was her name again? Fluttershy. She's staying with Twilight Sparkle in her entourage. One moment, one of the barbed unicorns said tersely, before he turned and walked into the castle. The other stood there watching me closely. I tried my most winning smile, but his expression didn't change. I tried to think of something witty to say, but he didn't look likely to respond in any case. So I flipped my mane at him and snorted indignantly. His scowl seemed too deepened, so I counted that as a victory. The other guard returned, and he gestured toward the castle with his poleaxe. "Come with me," he said, then turned. I grinned at the other guard and then followed the first instead of heading into the main entrance. He walked around the side toward the small servants' entrance I'd used earlier that day. The door swung open, and we headed inside. After a short walk through the corridors, we came again to the door to the room Twilight and her friends were staying in. The guard turned sharply on his hooves and walked away, leaving me alone in the hallway. I sighed deeply. I didn't really want to go asking any of these ponies for favors, but I didn't feel like I had much of a choice. I rapped a hoof against the heavy wooden door. The door swung open. "Yes! Who is it?" A sing-song voice called out. The door opened to reveal a white unicorn with a purple mane. Her face fell when she saw me. "Oh, it's you," she said with a sneer. "What do you want?" Who is it?" I heard Twilight Sparkle's call from inside. The white unicorn turned to look inside. "It's Trixie," she said, pronouncing my name as if it were some exotic form of gum disease. Wow. Suddenly, instead of the pony, I was facing 6. I recognized Twilight Sparkle, of course, and Fluttershy. The others were Twilight's friends whose names I couldn't remember. "Hi," the pink one said exuberantly. "I'm Pinkie Pie. You probably don't remember me because we never met. Well, we didn't kind of meet at the ceremony." She stopped and looked thoughtful. "Trixie," Twilight said. She looked confused and worried, and I confessed that I really wanted to kick her in the face. "What are you doing here?" I swallowed my pride. I had been getting used to that. "Trixie's cart was stolen," I said. "I was hoping I could stay here for tonight." I trailed off at the end of the last words, coming out to a mumble. Alright, so maybe I wasn't exactly used to swallowing my pride. "Trixie, that's terrible," Twilight said. Celestia, she was infuriating. Nevertheless, in short order, I was inside with a hot cup of tea and a yellow Pegasus inspecting my bandages. "You shouldn't have been walking on this," Fluttershy said quietly. "We need to put new bandages on." Other than Fluttershy, who seemed genuinely concerned, and Twilight Sparkle, none of the others seemed terribly thrilled to have me there. The orange one and the cyan Pegasus had dragged Pinkie Pie off to a corner. Celestia only knew what they were telling her about me, but I could see her glaring at me and biting her lip. So whatever it wasn't good. The snobbish white unicorn was sitting on her bed, pointingly looking away from me. "So," I said after a minute of Twilight and I looking at each other, and Fluttershy working on my bandages, "where's your dragon?" Twilight smiled. "Oh, Spike's having a long conversation with Latin. After I won, he asked if Spike wanted to know more about himself and his people. Princess Luna accompanied him and promised to bring him back when he was ready." I bristled at that. More rewards for Twilight Sparkle. Now she had Princess Luna running errands for her. I bit back an acidic response. Suddenly, my vision was filled with an angry pink earth pony. "Hey!" Pinkie said, her face about an inch from mine. "Applejack and Rainbow Dash told me how mean you were being when you were in Ponyville, and I saw you at the ceremony the other day. You weren't being nice at all. Now, apologize!" I wasn't really sure how to respond to this. Twilight and Fluttershy seemed taken aback as well. What else could I do? Trixies, sorry? I said, shrugging. Pinkie Pie narrowed her eyes at me and then grinned brightly and bounced away. It's okay, every pony. She all apologized. This is going to be a long night. And that is the end of that one. And I think I'm going to stop right there, and we'll start up chapter 11 tomorrow. I'm sorry for the short reading today after that mess up. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this reading. I will be shortly after this thing going to my next stream, which I'll be doing some video games on. So if you want to come join that, I'll go ahead and post it in the chat right now. If you want to go join it, you're more than welcome to. It is okay. Hold on. It is actually twitch.tv/Flutters Plays. I think that's the thing. That's what it's called right there. So go ahead and check that out. I'll be going on that soon with probably some Pirates of the Caribbean or whatever it is, that Pirates game. So be on the lookout for that. Maybe I'll do some VR chat or something. Anywho, see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.